what makes like the human kingdoms actually feel different compared to like their other points of inspiration. And I guess same goes for everything else, where they kind of just went, what, Native Americans, you're Tauren. Scottish people, you're dwarves. But I mean, everyone's been doing that with fantasy races since a pretty long time anyway. So it is like it. You know what? It's one of those common pitfalls. I think that there's more that they could kind of mine out of that. I think it's their elves that really were the coolest. Like this mixture of
Night elves were,
the druids, which is kind of like you're bringing in the Gaelic side of things, and also Japan.
Yeah, it's like
that's a cool mix.
Seeing all of their like when you go play Classic, and I don't know how much of this was evident in I'd say maybe some of the architecture in Warcraft 3, but you play WoW Classic, you see a lot of the Night Elves being like, oh, this is really Pan-Asian. There's like I remember first finding out what I'm terrible Korean pronunciation, so I'm not going to say it, but like the Korean dresses and Korean food. I remember seeing that and literally being introduced to its existence for the first time. Playing Classic and like doing Night Elf stuff and seeing it, oh, what the hell's that mean? Oh, that's a Korean thing. Okay, cool, interesting. And then seeing like everything being like inspired by Tory Gates and stuff. And like, oh yeah, you look at some of the names and they're very generic fantasy. And then you look at like the language and it's like, what the hell what's that? You see a lot of the Wild God stuff from, like you're saying, the Gaelic stuff. And that's like just Korean, Japan. Like, that's, especially when people go, oh, you think of like a dark-skinned elf and everyone goes, oh, drow. But less and less now. People are like, oh, Night Elves, because World of Warcraft's such a cultural juggernaut. It actually was the first unique race they actually had. Still is, more or less.
Yeah. I mean, I'd give their orcs a mention.
Yeah.
Because I know they did start off as just orcs, but like they very quickly became good. You got a super from Aaron. Super was $5 and said, Night Elves just need someone to stand up for them again. Lost that going into Cat with Metzen, moving on, and Samwise in the boiler room working on HOTS. Ain't that it? Yeah, like, we want Night Elves to be like how they were, at least somewhat more in Warcraft 3, which, it just kind of dawns on me, though. How many people actually remember Night Elves as they're supposed to be versus the newer kind of way softer, naturey Night Elves? Like, obviously, they've always been super naturey, like, of course. But, like, the Night Elves were like, these humans in our forest, kill them.
Warcraft 3 Night Elves, there's nothing better than Warcraft 3 Night Elves.
Yeah, they were great.
They're fantastic.
But most of the people who are playing WoW haven't played Warcraft 3.
Yeah, Night Elves.
I mean, Warcraft 3 was 2003.
Yeah.
It was
2001, isn't it?
Almost 20 years ago. What? Oh, yeah, and then Day of the Dragon came out 2002?
No,
or
I'm
the other way around?
It was released in 2002 and yeah.
Ah, okay, yeah.
So
that is a literal 20-year-old game, so it's not. I'm not expecting people to have played it. It's more just to say, like, there was way more of a isolationist edge to the Night Elves.
Yeah.
I'm not saying they should become isolationists again, but there was... you could feel their warrior culture. Because you weren't really dealing with the druid men. Yeah. You're dealing with the sentinels, and like their warrior culture really stood out.
Yeah, that's the thing. You were dealing with the druid men, and that was like, this is break glass in case of emergency. These are druids of the claws. They turn into barons and destroy you.
Oh, yeah.
And like that stuff was fun, but otherwise, and especially like I remember the introduction to them, and the way it was done, it was the orcs were encroaching, and they didn't know the Night Elves were there, and they were just chopping down some wood at the edge of Ashenvale, in order to set up a lumber camp and get some fire on with some buildings. And then they were terrified because they heard the trees whispering and they could see wisps, but they didn't know what they were. And then all of a sudden, these like wearing almost nothing warrior women sprinted out of the woods and killed a load of the peons and workers. And they're like, oh, what the hell was that? We didn't even see them clearly that fast. What's going on? Why did that camp die? You could feel like the fear of what the hell have we encountered. And then you see a load of trains and stuff from being somebody go, have we angered the spirits of the woods themselves? Obviously scenarios, literally yes, but it was more that they were like one and the same, and it was absolutely terrified. Like,
yeah, actually, Malfurion in it's not called A Good War. It's the other novella that was contained in the collector's edition of BFA. It's one of those, and you remember like, oh yeah, Malfurion's really scary.
Yeah.
Like the way he's written is really, really scary and powerful.
Just in game.
You never see it. You never see him
My
be cool in
beloved.
game. Rhonda.
Oh,
Oh man.
that's sad.